Alex here with a My Dockets video on child custody and visitation part 0. The reason I'm doing a part 0 is because this series is going to be done in a very unique way from all of my other series. I don't even know if that's a word. Forgive me if it's not. Plural for series. Somebody posted in the comments. Anyway, part 0 is going to be the video that covers like the disclaimers as to what, and also it helps people understand what's going on in case somebody jumps into the middle of the series and has no clue. And the reason for that is because this series is going to cover every single filing and hearing from my child custody case. And it's also going to be done in chronological order. So number one, people who are watching it aren't going to have any idea. They might think that I'm actually in a child custody case right now, and they might like feel bad for me or something. Don't feel bad for me. My child custody case is over. I got primary, physical, and sole legal custody, and then a couple years later, the court terminated my ex's parental rights. So there's no need for that. My case is done and behind me. I'm not worried about. Um, it's not for sympathy that I'm doing this. This is so that people can have a big, gigantic example that they can sort of refer to when they watch my other videos. And it'll also probably lead people into some of my other videos that sort of try to help people navigate their own child custody case. Crap, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but it's going to cover at least 4 different district court dockets and a total of 10 Supreme Court appeals. I think there's 2 writ petitions mixed in there. So it's going to be like 8 Supreme Court appeals and 2 Supreme Court original writ petitions. If anyone doesn't know what those are, I have a video on writ petitions. Anyway, there's going to be a certain way that I go about this. I'm not just going to cover the filings and the hearings just for the sake of it, like just to show off or brag. In fact, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to sort of explain what was going through my head at the time of the particular filing or the particular hearing. I'm going to also show what I think I didn't do right. And towards the beginning of my case, I feel like there's a lot of things that I didn't do right. And there's probably a lot of things that I would have done very differently. Also, towards the beginning of my case, I wasn't usually winning. In fact, I was losing most of my motions. So it's going to help people, I think, to see sort of where I ended up after all those years and what kind of struggles and strife I went through, how many losses I took early on. Because the most important thing, I think, is for people to not give up. And I think a lot of people think that with my case, I was just winning all the time. And so, of course, I didn't give up. I was winning all the time. When the reality of it is, I started out with supervised visitation. So a lot of people who come here are really struggling and frustrated because they had supervised visitation. And they're trying to, just get a few days with their kids that they're not supervised. Or, maybe for them it's like, oh my God, can I get joint physical custody? When, in reality, some people think that I didn't start out that way, so I don't understand. Like, some people think I started out with custody or primary physical custody, and it was just, I just coasted through, and I didn't. I started out with supervised visits, and I guess you could use the word upgraded to unsupervised visits, a few more hours a week. Next thing I know, I've got joint physical custody, and of course the case didn't end there. Several years later, I got primary physical custody. A little while after that, sole legal custody. I mean, it was a journey, and it's not something that I just skated through. And I think this is going to really help people see that when they see sort of my first few videos and how I started out and sort of what was going through my mind, all the sleep that I lost, because I'm not that different from many of the people who are watching. I am now because 8 years have passed and I've matured, but in the beginning I was a 25-year-old student in college, and I didn't sound this way. I didn't speak this way. My vocabulary was not at all like this. Um, my writing wasn't this good, I didn't write as well. It's just, I feel like it's going to help people have a little bit of hope. And with an exam, people have told me many, many times that examples help so much. And what better example than my entire case? It's not like it's secret. I've already had viewers going on to the online dockets and pulling my case and looking at my case. So all of it is public record. All of my Supreme Court filings are on the internet. All of my district court filings are in Second Judicial District Court's website. So it's like, it's not like this is going to be something that's going to really put me out there, because I'm already out there anyway. So for people here who haven't seen my website, it's theproperperson.com. It has a tab called Coming Soon. If you look down, you'll see that there are there is a particular threshold. It's a 3,000 subscriber threshold. That's when I'm going to start sharing my docket filings, and that's when I'm going to start this series. So for now, part 0 is just going to be sitting there all alone, and I won't really be starting up on part 0, or starting up with part 1 until I actually get the 3,000 subscribers. And the reason for that is because I feel like this is going to be a bigger benefit to people, to more people. It's not something that I feel like there's a strong, I don't want to use incentive. I don't feel like there's a point to doing it just yet, because the audience isn't really that big, and it's going to take a lot more work than my other videos, because usually with my other videos I just turn the camera on and start talking. But with this video I'm actually going to have to organize the filings and set up links, and I'm probably going to have to create a new tab on the website for people to actually download the filings and take a look. With that being said, expect it, I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but it's probably going to be over 200 parts long. Just giving a ballpark number because of how many filings have gone back and forth in my case and how many hearings I went through. I'm sure there's going to be at least 20 hearings for people to watch. The last thing I want to mention, I may as well mention this now in part 0, is there are some filings that are really, what's the word? They're not really a big deal. For example, like a notice of change of address, or a request for submission, or a certificate of service. There's not a whole lot to talk about with those. I'm not going to skip over them. What I'll do is I'll just talk about them at the end of any video in the series where just the next filing happens to be one of those filings, and I'll just mention that it was filed, probably talk about it for like 20 seconds. As I mentioned, there's a few things that are really just sort of housekeeping, I guess you could refer to them. Like a notice of change of address just tells the court that I changed my address. But that aside, I will go over each and every filing, and I will discuss all the different things that I mentioned earlier, such as what was going through my head, and what would I have done differently, stuff like that. I think people are going to get a humongous benefit out of this series, and I'm looking forward to starting it when the time is right. For any of my really, really new viewers who haven't seen any of my other videos before, I do have 4 other series. I think I mentioned that towards the beginning, but I'm not sure if I mentioned in my name. I cover high conflict child custody, I cover landlord-tenant, I cover legal nuts and bolts, which is just sort of general stuff that applies to any type of case. And I could have sworn I had 4. Oh, this is going to be the 4th one, my docket series. So with that, I guess I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I'll see you guys next time.